And as we highlight International Day of the Boy Child, boys in South Africa are growing up in a world where they are disproportionately to violence, both as victims and later on as potential perpetrators. Mental health is another growing crisis for boys in South Africa, and studies have shown that suicide is the third leading cause of death among adolescent boys in South Africa. Unfortunately, masculine norms often discourage boys from seeking help, leaving trauma unaddressed. And for more on this, we are now joined by Karl Muller, the Nelson Mandela Children's Fund Chief Programs Officer. He joins us now via our video link. Karl, thank you so much for your time this evening here in SABC News. I mean, let's talk about, the International Day of the Boy Child. We often hear so much being spoken about the girl child in the country and the world over. Why is it so important for us to reflect on a day strictly for boys in the country and in the world?
Thank you very much, Mbali. It's a real pleasure to join you tonight. It's important for us to recognize that as we develop our causes around supporting the girl child and her development in society towards an equitable and empowered girl child, that we don't leave boys behind. It's important that we also understand the social norms around masculinity and what boys are expected to do. You know, the case of big boys don't cry. And if we don't address these issues and give boys an alternative view of masculinity and of how they interact with their own emotions, then we set ourselves up for failure as a society if we want to build a just and equitable society.
And let's talk about, addressing issues of mental health, particularly in a time where we have seen an increase even in boy children experiencing mental health challenges. What happens when these go unaddressed?
Yeah. The current social model that we experience is one in which boys and men are not taught to deal in a healthy manner with their emotions. They don't have, we feel, many examples of good and solid male examples in society that they can follow. And if we don't deal with this impending mental health crisis, then we face a real challenge in the future about addressing issues like gender-based violence in the future. We run several programs that help address issues around boys. Boys also, there's a great prevalence of violence against boys. The latest UN studies in 2022 show that at least 1 in 3 boys in South Africa will experience violence of some kind. And we believe that if we leave the boys to their own devices in this and don't address this as a matter of society, then it makes conversations in the future around gender-based violence much more difficult to do, and hence the importance of having such a day as the International Day of the Boy Child.
And would you say, growing up, we always heard something that you alluded to a bit earlier, boys don't cry. Would you say that the issues that we face now because of mental health challenges really stem from, societal narratives saying that boys, don't cry? And what does then this do to, the future for these young boys, now particularly seeing an increase when it comes to suicides, being conducted by young boys?
Yeah, suicides are a societal tragedy and a quiet tragedy that not many of us are aware of. And the shocking statistic around suicides in Bali is that it's the third leading cause of death amongst adolescent boys. And that should really give us a shock that these young men reach the point in which they feel, I have no other option but to remove myself out of this world because I've got no way to express the challenges and the issues that I'm dealing with. And especially when it comes to our societal norms around male dominance. In fact, the HSRC in 2020 did a gender norm study and found that 70% of young men, of adolescent men, support the idea of male dominance in relationships, and that often such behavior around male dominance is rooted deeply in trauma and harmful socializations.
And Karl, what would you say needs to change in our societies, to pay more attention to the mental health challenges of boys and how, this can be addressed even in our homes?
Mbali, I think there's a three-pronged approach that we need. One is, as society, we need to take ourselves out of our current models of thinking. There are many good and healthy men in this world that we need to stand up and give young men an opportunity through mentoring programs and through social interventions to show young men how they can deal with their emotions. The second thing is we have to redefine the partnership between men and women to be one of true partnership within this country where ideas are shared back and forth. And third, I think we need to tackle this through systematic programming, such as the programs that we run in the Nelson Mandela Children's Fund, which includes a Boy Joy program where we've interacted with over 9,500 children, half of them boys, in terms of helping them learn how to deal with their emotions, how to communicate, how to be, the idea that men are providers adds a lot of stress to these young men, but for them to understand that being a provider with your partner is such a much healthier and better and happier model in life for them to pursue.
All right. Thank you so much, Karl, for that insight. That is Karl Muller, the Chief Programs Officer for the Nelson Mandela Children's Fund. They're talking to us about the International Day of a Boy Child.